The Golden State Warriors are once again standing at a crossroads, a familiar place for a franchise that has tasted the highest levels of success and endured the painful lows of uncertainty. From their dynasty years led by Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, to the constant reinventions that have kept them relevant in an ever-changing NBA landscape, the Warriors' story has always been about adaptation. And now, as the 2025-26 season looms, the whispers are getting louder. Could this team make one of the boldest moves in basketball history and bring in another global superstar like LeBron James or Giannis Antetokounmpo? To understand how we got here, we need to rewind the clock just a bit. Last season, Golden State made a daring mid-season move by acquiring six-time All-Star Jimmy Butler, adding him to a core with Curry and Green. The vision was clear, a new Big Three, built on toughness, leadership, and experience. For a moment, it looked like the Warriors had struck gold again. Butler brought grit, defense, and a playoff mentality. Curry continued to defy age, dazzling fans with his shooting artistry. The Chase Center buzzed with belief that another title run was brewing. But as fate would have it, Curry's injury in the second round of the playoffs derailed those dreams, leaving fans to wonder if the window was closing. That disappointment has fueled the conversations happening now. The Warriors know their dynasty is not immortal. Curry is still great, but time is undefeated. Draymond remains the emotional core, but his prime years are behind him. Jimmy Butler is aging too, and his intense style often leads to wear and tear. For the Warriors front office, the margin for error is razor thin. And this is where Jonathan Kuminga comes in. Kuminga, once hailed as the future of the franchise, has had a turbulent journey with Golden State. Bursting into the league with explosive athleticism and flashes of two-way brilliance, he represented the bridge between the old dynasty and the new era. But inconsistency, questions about his fit, and a sometimes rocky relationship with the coaching staff have cast doubt on his long-term role. Now, as he nears a new contract, the stakes couldn't be higher. Reports suggest he could sign a deal north of $20 million annually, a figure that not only reflects his potential but also turns him into one of the Warriors' most valuable trade assets. And that's the key. Kuminga's new contract wouldn't just be about securing his services. It would also give the Warriors the financial flexibility to match salaries in a blockbuster trade. Which brings us back to the rumors: LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Imagine, for a moment, LeBron James wearing a Warriors jersey. It sounds like fantasy basketball, but the logic is there. LeBron's relationship with the Lakers has grown complicated. The team has struggled to find consistent success since their 2020 bubble championship, and LeBron, even at age 41 in the story of Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors is one filled with hope, talent, and rising tension. Kuminga arrived in Golden State as a raw but incredibly gifted prospect, drafted 7th overall in the 2021 NBA Draft. He was seen as a future cornerstone, a versatile forward with elite athleticism, defensive potential, and the ability to grow into a star under the mentorship of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. The Warriors believed he could represent the bridge between their championship core and the franchise's future. In his first 2 seasons, Kuminga flashed moments of brilliance. His ability to slash to the rim, defend multiple positions, and bring energy off the bench stood out. Yet, inconsistency and limited playing time created frustration. Steve Kerr, known for trusting veterans, often kept Kuminga's minutes tight, especially in critical playoff games. This decision sparked debate within the Warriors fan base. Was Kerr slowing Kuminga's growth, or was Kuminga not fully ready for the responsibility? By the 2023-24 season, the friction grew louder. Kuminga openly expressed dissatisfaction with his role. Reports surfaced that he felt undervalued and underutilized, especially during stretches where he'd perform well but still see his minutes cut in favor of veterans. His athletic prime was approaching, and being stuck behind Andrew Wiggins in the rotation only fueled his frustration. For a young player eager to prove himself, it was difficult to accept that his development seemed to be taking a back seat to the Warriors' pursuit of squeezing out every last championship run from their aging core. Meanwhile, the Warriors were at a crossroads. Their dynasty, built on the brilliance of Curry, the defense of Green, and the shooting of Thompson, was showing cracks. Thompson's decline, Green's suspensions, and Curry shouldering too much of the offensive load highlighted the urgent need for youth. Kuminga represented that injection of energy. But the question remained, was Kerr willing to trust him fully? And was Kuminga patient enough to wait? Tensions escalated when reports suggested Kuminga's camp was considering his long-term future. His agent hinted that if his role didn't expand, he could explore opportunities elsewhere. Rival teams circled, knowing his talent could flourish in a system built around him. The Warriors, however, were torn. Trading Kuminga could bring in win-now pieces, but losing him could also mean giving away their future cornerstone. The 2024-25 season has only intensified these questions. Kuminga's performances have been more polished. His shot selection has improved, his defense more disciplined, and his confidence undeniable. Yet, the inconsistency of his minutes remains a storyline. Warriors fans argue that Kuminga should already be the second option behind Curry, while others believe Kerr's tough love is preparing him for bigger responsibilities. Still, every game where Kuminga shines but sits late in the fourth quarter adds fuel to the controversy. The Warriors' struggles this season have made Kuminga's situation even more critical. With the team battling in a competitive Western Conference, every decision feels magnified. If Golden State leans too heavily on veterans, they risk alienating Kuminga. If they hand the keys to him too early, they risk mistakes that could cost them games. It is a delicate balance, and so far, it has left both sides unsatisfied. For Kuminga, the pressure is real. He knows the NBA is about opportunity, and windows don't last forever. Every year he sits behind veterans is a year lost in proving he can be an all-star. For the Warriors, the dilemma is equally sharp. Can they transition smoothly from the Curry era to a future led by Kuminga, or will they mismanage the situation and see him thrive somewhere else? The narrative now seems to be heading toward an eventual split. Unless something drastically changes in Kerr's rotations or the Warriors shift their philosophy, Kuminga's desire for a bigger role may push him to another team. And if that happens, it will mark a dramatic turning point, not just for Kuminga's career, but for the Warriors' dynasty. Losing him would symbolize the struggle Golden State has faced in trying to win now while building for the future. For now, Kuminga remains in a complex position, too talented to ignore, too ambitious to wait, and too vital for the Warriors to easily trade away. His story with Golden State continues, but the ending feels uncertain. Will he be the torchbearer of the next Warriors era, or will he become the star that slipped through their hands? In the heart of San Francisco, where banners hang high and championship memories echo inside the Chase Center, the Golden State Warriors stand at a crossroads. Their dynasty, once untouchable, now faces questions of age, contracts, and chemistry. At the center of this storm is a young forward with limitless potential, Jonathan Kuminga. Drafted in 2021 as part of the Warriors' ambitious plan to bridge the gap between the present and the future, Kuminga was meant to be the heir to the dynasty's throne. Athletic, explosive, and fearless, he was the kind of talent that could redefine Golden State's next era. But 4 years later, the relationship is unraveling. Kuminga's arrival was celebrated as the beginning of something new. With Stephen Curry still in his prime, Draymond Green anchoring the defense, and Klay Thompson returning from injury, the Warriors hoped Kuminga would blend youth with championship experience. Fans watched flashes of brilliance. High-flying dunks, defensive stops, and moments where he seemed unstoppable in transition. Analysts spoke about his ceiling, some comparing him to the next great two-way wing. But in Golden State, talent wasn't enough. The system under Steve Kerr demanded patience, discipline, and trust. And that trust never fully materialized. Kuminga's minutes fluctuated wildly. Some nights he was a spark off the bench, other nights, glued to the sideline. Steve Kerr valued veterans, leaning heavily on experience during playoff pushes. To a young star craving opportunity, the message was clear: wait your turn. But Kuminga didn't want to wait. He wanted a bigger role, not tomorrow, not next season, but now. By 2024, whispers began to surface. Was Golden State holding back one of its brightest prospects? Or was Kuminga simply not ready to carry the load? The tension grew louder with every playoff exit, especially as the Warriors failed to return to the mountaintop. As the summer of 2025 arrived, the stakes were no longer just about playing time. Money and control were on the table. Golden State offered Kuminga several contracts, a 3-year, $75 million deal with a team option, a shorter 2-year, $45 million contract, and another lower-value offer. Each deal favored the Warriors, limiting Kuminga's freedom and flexibility. But Kuminga's camp, led by his agent Aaron Turner, pushed back. They wanted a player option, leverage for the future, and respect for his rising market value. Turner made the rounds on national media, repeating one message: if the Warriors don't meet our terms, Kuminga will take the qualifying offer and bet on himself. The qualifying offer: a 1-year deal that would allow Kuminga to hit unrestricted free agency in 2026. Risky? Yes. But also a bold statement of independence. Inside the Warriors' locker room, the tension was palpable. Veterans like Draymond Green and new arrival Jimmy Butler commanded minutes at the forward position, the very role Kuminga wanted. Steve Kerr trusted his established stars, leaving little room for Kuminga to shine. Reports suggested frustration was boiling over. Kuminga had shown flashes of dominance when given the green light, but the leash always tightened. For a young player dreaming of stardom, it felt like suffocation. Meanwhile, the organization remained torn. Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy Jr. understood Kuminga's value as both a player and a trade asset. But could they risk alienating a potential star in order to preserve the present? As the clock ticked toward October 1st, trade rumors exploded. Sacramento, Phoenix. Even whispers of teams like Toronto and Orlando surfaced. Each rumor sent shockwaves through Warriors Nation. Could Golden State really move on from a 23-year-old with superstar potential? And if so, what would they get in return? Some executives saw Kuminga as a centerpiece for their future, a chance to grab a two-way wing on the rise. Others saw him as a gamble, a player unproven in the biggest moments. But one thing was clear: the market was buzzing, and Kuminga's name was at the center of it all. Golden State's identity has always been tied to its stars. Curry, Thompson, Green, now Butler. But behind the glory lies the truth: dynasties do not last forever. The Kuminga saga forced the Warriors to confront a painful reality. Could they transition to the next generation without tearing apart what they'd built? Or would stubborn loyalty to the old guard cost them their future? For Kuminga, the path was clearer. Whether in Golden State or elsewhere, he wanted freedom, opportunity, and recognition. He wanted to be more than a role player in someone else's story. He wanted to write his own. October 1st loomed like a ticking clock. By then, Kuminga had to choose. Accept a new deal, or take the qualifying offer and brace for one last season in the Bay. For Golden State, the deadline meant clarity: either secure him on terms they could live with or prepare for a trade that could reshape their future. Fans held their breath. Analysts debated endlessly. And inside Chase Center, history felt like it was repeating itself. Just as the Warriors once faced difficult decisions with Monta Ellis, Harrison Barnes, and Kevin Durant, now they stood at another fork in the road. The ending was uncertain, but one truth was undeniable: Jonathan Kuminga's time in Golden State was nearing its breaking point. Dynasties are not broken in one moment, nor are they preserved by one player. But sometimes, a single decision can define the future. For Jonathan Kuminga, that decision is now. The Golden State Warriors enter the 2025-2026 season with as much intrigue as uncertainty. Less than 2 weeks away from training camp, a cloud of questions hovers over San Francisco. On the surface, this looks like a team still boasting Stephen Curry, one of the greatest shooters the game has ever seen. They also traded for Jimmy Butler back in February, adding toughness, experience, and a battle-hardened mentality. Yet, for every step forward, there appears to be another step back. Butler's honeymoon period with the Warriors is already over, and the Jonathan Kuminga contract stalemate has turned what should be a smooth preseason into a complicated mess. The Jimmy Butler situation is both fascinating and worrisome. He came to Golden State knowing that his role would be as Curry's sidekick, the Robin to Steph's Batman, as Butler himself put it. The idea was clear. Ensure that at least one of the two stars was always on the floor, protecting Curry from carrying the full weight at 37 years old. On paper, it was a brilliant move. Butler thrives on responsibility, and the Warriors saw in him the perfect player to guide the second unit. But here we are, before training camp has even tipped off, and cracks are starting to show. Butler has been vocal about wanting clarity. He wants to know what the bench unit will look like, and more importantly, whether Kuminga will even be part of it. His concern isn't unfounded. Without Kuminga signed, Golden State can't run full practices, can't test rotations, and can't build the chemistry they desperately need before the grind of an 82-game season. Jonathan Kuminga's free agency drama is now the elephant in the room. His situation has dragged on far longer than the Warriors anticipated. Fans expected the deal to be wrapped up in July or August, but here we are in September, and the ink is still missing from the paper. The holdup has consequences that ripple across the roster. It's not just about Kuminga himself, it's about the domino effect on others. DeAnthony Melton and Seth Curry are both widely expected to join, but their signings are being held up until Kuminga's contract is finalized. That means the Warriors effectively have just 9 players under contract, half a roster at best. In a league where continuity and preparation are everything, this delay is borderline catastrophic. From a basketball perspective, Kuminga is not a player you can just wait on without consequences. He has grown into a vital part of the Warriors' future, showing flashes of two-way dominance, versatility, and athleticism that this team cannot easily replace. More importantly, Butler himself has been pushing to work alongside Kuminga. The idea of a Butler-Kuminga-led second unit excites fans and coaches alike. Imagine Butler's grit and leadership paired with Kuminga's explosiveness. It could be one of the most dynamic bench duos in the league. But none of that can be tested right now. The longer this free agency saga continues, fans expected the deal to be wrapped up in July or August, but here we are in September, and the ink is still missing from the paper. The holdup has consequences that ripple across the roster. It's not just about Kuminga himself, it's about the domino effect on others. DeAnthony Melton and Seth Curry are both widely expected to join, but their signings are being held up until Kuminga's contract is finalized. That means the Warriors effectively have just 9 players under contract, half a roster at best. In a league where continuity and preparation are everything, this delay is borderline catastrophic. From a basketball perspective, Kuminga is not a player you can just wait on without consequences. He has grown into a vital part of the Warriors' future, showing flashes of two-way dominance, versatility, and athleticism that this team cannot easily replace. More importantly, Butler himself has been pushing to work alongside Kuminga. The idea of a Butler-Kuminga-led second unit excites fans and coaches alike. Imagine Butler's grit and leadership paired with Kuminga's explosiveness. It could be one of the most dynamic bench duos in the league. But none of that can be tested right now. The longer this free agency saga continues, the smaller the window becomes for these two to actually build that chemistry. Steve Kerr has been candid in the past, admitting that Butler, Kuminga, and Draymond Green haven't always fit well together. Stylistically, they sometimes clash. Draymond's fiery personality, Butler's intensity, and Kuminga's desire to establish himself as a star all create friction. In some ways, that friction can be productive, sharpening iron with iron. But in other ways, it can be destructive. This is where Kerr's leadership will be tested. He needs to find the balance, the sweet spot where egos align with team goals. And he has very little time left to figure it out. Training camp is when rotations are built, trust is formed, and roles are defined. If Kuminga isn't there, if Melton and Seth Curry aren't signed, then Kerr is starting camp with a fractured foundation. The addition of Al Horford provides some stability. At 39 years old, Horford is entering the twilight of his career, but his experience and basketball IQ are invaluable. He doesn't need months of chemistry building, he adapts quickly. Horford has played alongside stars before, from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in Boston to Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. His calm, veteran presence is exactly what the Warriors need in a chaotic offseason. But Horford can only do so much. He isn't the answer to the Warriors' deeper issues. He can anchor the locker room and contribute steady minutes, but he cannot fix the fact that Golden State doesn't know what its full rotation will even look like. The Warriors' current problem is not a lack of talent. It's timing. Teams across the NBA are already back in their facilities,